We're back by popular demand. It's season 2 of the Wedcast, brought to you by Film Media Wedding Videography. Welcome back to episode 5 of the Wedcast. My name is James, and on tonight's show we will be talking to Phil Cole, who is the Norfolk caricature artist, also known as Coley. He's coming on today to talk a little bit about how he goes about capturing people in the way he does with his phenomenal drawing and his fun caricatures, how he implements that at weddings, and how long he's been doing that, which is going to be brilliant, so I'm looking forward to talking to him. And on next week's show, episode 6, we are going to be talking to Chloe Edwards, who is the wedding and events manager at Applewood Hall in Banham. So she's going to be coming on, we're going to be talking to her as well. I just want to say a big thank you to everyone who's been on the show so far. Obviously, week 1, we had Emily from Film Media, which is brilliant. Week 2, we had Victor Ling, the photo booth company. Week 3, we had Simon Watson from Simon Watson Photography. Week 4, we had the phenomenal DJ Nick Chatton. And then obviously this week we've got Phil. And every week we have me and of course Leo. So it's going to be a good one today. So without further ado, let's bring in Phil. And enjoy the show, guys. Hello, Phil. Welcome to the Wedcast. It's great to have you on. How are you today?
I'm great, thank you very much. Great to speak to you.
Well, it's brilliant. I've been meaning to get you on for a little while to talk to you about what you do. Very excited. I've not had a caricaturist on the show before. So why don't you start by just telling us a little bit about what you do?
Right. Basically, mostly what I do is I draw quick caricatures at weddings, usually around a 2 or generally a 3-hour booking. They take around 5 minutes each, so I can either mix and mingle, which is walk around drawing, just asking people if they want a picture, or I can be seated and draw either an easel or just a couple of chairs supplied by the venue. So basically just draw a quick picture, like I say 5 minutes. I can add some colour, a spot of colour. They take around 10 minutes per person. But like I say, they're kind of done on high quality A3 paper, and these are then rolled up and banded and given to the guest as a perfect memento of the big day.
Fab. I mean, I know that caricaturists have been around for a little while. I mean, when I got married myself in 2010, we had a caricaturist at our wedding. I'm not sure who it was now. It was a long time ago. So I know it's an art that's been around for a long time. Is it something you kind of just fell in love with over time, or was it something you were really passionate about at school with art and stuff like that?
I've always been into art as soon as I could pick up a pencil, to be honest. And when I was a kid, I used to draw knights in armour. When I was kind of, about 5 or 6, and I would start at the foot and draw the knight, complete body, and it'd be roughly in proportion, which I probably couldn't do nowadays for some reason.
Right.
But yeah, it was, it's always been something I was into. I then went on to do graphic design and art after leaving school for a couple of years. And at a later date, when I was 26, I also went in to do a fine art access course, but didn't actually go on to university. But it's always been a passion of mine, doing art and doing portraits. And the way I kind of fell into it really was caricatures wasn't necessarily something I'd kind of thought about. I used to do portraits, and I was chatting to a lady in a pub one day, and was saying about doing a portrait, and the landlady overheard me saying that, what I did, and she said, "Oh, have you ever done a caricature? Can you draw me?" So I said, "Yeah, of course." So I did this picture of her, and it was the old Bull's Head pub. Yep. So I made her look like a bull pulling a pint and blowing steam, and she absolutely loved it. And
amazing.
That's basically how it all started.
So, I mean, obviously, if people don't really particularly know what a caricature is, so is it? How would you best describe it? I mean, so it's kind of a portrait, but you kind of add in some extra personality. Would you say that's what it is? How would you describe that?
Yeah, a little bit like that. I mean, you kind of, the word caricature comes from cariga, which is Italian word or Latin, and it means to extort or extend. So you're kind of, any features that someone's got, you kind of pull out a little bit. Obviously, I don't kind of exaggerate too much, depending on the person, how much they can sort of have a bit of a laugh with it or not. But yeah, it's basically a bit like a cartoon, mixed between a cartoon and a portrait, and a little bit of kind of exaggeration here and there of someone's features.
I love it. I mean, it's something really nice. As I said, I've had a couple of them done of myself in the past, and it's great fun. And what's really nice about it, especially with something like a wedding, if you're wandering around mingling with the guests and they're doing their picture, they can then go and show the picture to the other people, and then they can have a good laugh about it, or they can say, "Look, mate, this looks amazing." And it's a really, really nice thing, especially for guests to take home, that they can say, "Oh, this happened at the wedding," and it's a really nice talking point as well, isn't it?
Yeah, it really goes down well. I mean, it is a bit like Marmite. Having said that, you either love it or hate it, but a lot of people do love it, and you kind of ask people around as you do. First of all, perhaps, some of them might be a bit shy, and then someone will, I'll have mine done. And then within minutes, I've got a queue of people, and it will generally, I kind of non-stop. Like I say, generally a 3-hour booking is kind of round the amount of time for most weddings, and I will be flat out generally all that time, drawing as many pictures as I can.
And you said it's about 5 minutes a picture, did you say?
Roughly 5 minutes per person, yeah, but per person as such.
Yeah, I mean, do you draw like, if for example, if you if there was a partner and there was a couple of, a husband and wife, they came out, would you be able to do them at the same time, like a couple picture, or is it only just single pictures you particularly do?
Yeah, I mean, single ones are ideal in a way, because obviously you can kind of fit a bit more extortion of their features in. But yeah, couples, get quite a lot of couples that, obviously want to be in the picture together, or I'll kind of get a group of lads or ladies that are, can we all have ours together? And what I'll do is I'll generally just draw the head. Like I say, it's on A3 paper, so usually around kind of 4 or 5 people is the most that you can kind of squeeze the heads in, really.
I mean, is there a particular, for example, if you were drawing somebody, would you pick on a feature to start the picture, or would you just go straight for the face, or how do you I mean, is there specific features on people, is kind of what I'm saying, that make you start the picture?
Yeah, I suppose you kind of analyse it a bit a few seconds beforehand, what you're going to do and how you're going to do it. I mean, different people do different things. I work straight to mark a pen, which is a bit daunting, really. Took quite a bit of practice. But it took me probably 2 or 3 years of doing it, and some people were standing behind me, and then this couple were discussing how every picture I started with the nose. Okay. And I didn't sort of realise myself, really, until it was like kind of, oh yeah, I do actually start with the nose. But I mean, it's a central point, I suppose. I tend to work face on a picture. Because, when I first got into it, I suppose we all kind of adapt our styles. Some people like someone's face at a slight angle and different stuff like that. But which again, sometimes I do. But I think I read in one of these books early on that a good thing to do is people recognise themselves, because that's how they see themselves. You look at yourself in the mirror and your face on. So yeah, I'll kind of extend from there, really. I'll kind of suss it out from there, but I generally, like I say, start with the nose, perhaps add the eyes next, and then I'll stretch out whatever other parts of the face may be required. But like I say, I'll kind of emphasise it a bit if someone wants a bit of a joke. You get some people that, there's a load of people around, and such as a groomsman, and they're all kind of cheering along and behind me and saying, oh, draw him big ears, or do this, that and the other, or put this in the picture or that in the picture. So yeah, have a bit of a joke with it, really, and it does attract a crowd of people all kind of having a laugh, around me as I'm drawing.
I really like that as well, and it gets people talking, as I said. Do you particularly, is this like something when you start the wedding, is it, do you go in literally after the service is finished, or is it sort of more of an evening thing for you, or does it vary?
Yeah, it's a very, very good question. People often ask me what's the best time, so I've kind of got a standing reply, really, that the best time really is kind of just after the wedding breakfast, just after the speeches usually. So that kind of point when the guests are mulling around, when you've got that afternoon lull, is kind of really great time, when everyone's kind of waiting for the evening and the evening entertainment. So, but to be honest, any time, I get people that just get me working in the evening after everything's gone on. So it's not a problem doing that, but quite a good time is that lull in the afternoon.
Do you find it more difficult to do pictures of people if they've had like some drinks? So like if you've turned up to the evening and they're sort of like at that point of getting drunk, or do you find it easier because they're more willing to stand and talk and you'll get the better picture? What's best for you?
Yeah, I mean, obviously doesn't matter to me, obviously if people have had a few drinks, they'll start to laugh and joke about everything.
Yeah.
That doesn't necessarily matter to me in terms of me doing the picture. But yeah, if someone's had a drink, they're more kind of, all their friends will be around having a laugh as well and all a bit drunk.
That's great.
So that's why in some ways that in the afternoon can be a better time. But like I say, sometimes I've worked till sort of, 10:30 or 11 at night.
Wow.
People book me in the evening. It's not really a problem. Quite often I end up alongside magicians, walkabout magicians, and also quite often near a photo booth. Some people will prefer the drawing or the photo booth. In some way, sometimes I've ended up taking all the work away from the photo booth, and
wow.
they've ended up standing there, and it's like kind of I've got a queue of people, and it's like, oh, I've taken all your work away for the evening. But it's good fun.
Do you do more than one wedding in a day then, or is it like obviously you do a 3-hour window? So could you be doing one in the afternoon, then go to another one in the evening?
Yeah, I mean, depending on the location from where they are. To be honest, hadn't happened for quite a few years, obviously COVID and various other things, but I did get one last year, but that was kind of an hour and a half away from each other. So it was two specific gigs, one in Bury St Edmunds and one in Norwich, but made it quite easily from one to the other. I mean, obviously dependent on what time the wedding is during the day, first one. But yeah, I've actually just had 2 more lots for this year book up that are both double jobs, and one of them I was like, obviously when I did the quote, I said, I'm sorry, I'm already booked, but it's not till the evening. What time's are your wedding? Whereabouts is it? And it turned out it's only about 20 minutes from one to the other, so it was like,
that's not bad. Yeah,
I can do it. So
that's great.
Not really a problem. Or someone can reduce the times if need be. They could just have a 2-hour slot. It's not a problem, depending on the size of the wedding.
Yeah. So obviously you're Norfolk based. Whereabouts are you in Norfolk?
I'm Colkirk, just outskirts of Fakenham, so not too far from Norwich, which is a place I tend to get most of my work nowadays.
Yeah.
I tend to not nowadays go much more than kind of hour and a half or 2 hours of maximum distance, really.
Yeah.
Most weddings and things I do will be an hour drive, so obviously I'll add on a slight fee as well if anything's over an hour drive.
Of course.
There's a slight fee for fuel.
Yeah.
So nowadays it's quite expensive. But yeah, that's kind of generally how it is.
So you touched on a little while ago COVID times. How did you find that for yourself? Obviously not being able to get out and do the weddings.
Yeah, it was obviously pretty bad, really. As it was for all of us. I do another thing I do for weddings as well is I do digital art nowadays. I used to draw portraits and caricatures as well in chalk.
Okay.
But nowadays, as things have passed on, probably about the last 10 years, I've kind of gone into the digital drawing market, really. So I draw stuff with an Apple Pencil on an iPad and draw commissions and bits and pieces for people. A lot of people did start doing live drawings as such on the screen. It's mostly the odd few sort of commissions and stuff I got at the time. But an extension of that nowadays, like I say, everything going digitally, is at events. More kind of corporate events tend to be, but to be honest, they can be done at weddings as well. I draw live on the iPad. Again, they take 5-6 minutes or so each. And I have that then linked up to a, portrait television, which I'll take into and have on stand on the job. And so as I draw, that comes out on the screen.
Oh, fab. Brilliant. That's really good.
So that's another, a new slant on things, really. So, you've got colour. I can also supply someone or the guest with a digital image, either emailed or airdrop, which is the other kind of latest thing, and or I can actually print out a kind of 4x6 little portrait picture. So it actually gets printed for the guest as well.
That's brilliant. And as you said before, times are moving forward, and obviously we are in a digital world. I've spoken to this on recent shows with some of my previous guests this season, and you've got to move along with the times. You've got to keep current, and obviously doing what you do now with the iPad stuff, and then obviously showing it on the screen and printing it. I think that's brilliant, because some people actually some people prefer the actual drawing side, but I think they could also prefer the digital side too, because obviously if it's digital, they can ping it straight to their phone. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, people use them as screensavers, or they can bounce that around, put that on social media for themselves, or use it as I kind of jokingly say, that's now your passport photo or whatever it might be, or your new Facebook profile. You kind of get a quick picture done. The other kind of slant I do for weddings as well is I do a more in-depth, detailed picture, which can be used as printed out as an image, and people can have where they do the signing around the frame of the area, the mount of the actual picture.
Yeah.
So I do quite a detail. That can all be done via email, and it's kind of I draw the whole thing up. Usually require a couple of good pictures of somebody's face. Put a few hobbies in there, and do quite a detailed digital picture. And again, the person can have the option, I don't even have to see them, can be paid by bank transfer, and the image can be sent across, and that they can get the image printed out their end, which I just had someone the other year. They got fridge magnets done as
wow,
gifts for the guests.
I love that. That is brilliant, and I think people do love things like that, and it's such a nice little momentum as well. So in regards to, obviously you do caricaturist, you're a character at weddings. Do you do any drawings in your free time, or is it all mainly for work for you? Or obviously you say at the beginning it's a passion of yours always to love art and stuff. Is it something you do at home?
Yeah, I have been doing some lately, actually, to be honest. But again, it's getting round to it. Obviously, if a commission comes in and it's paid, then you kind of get off your backside and kind of get on with it. But it's like, I must kind of do a picture of that person, and I'll put that on my website, which is what I've done recently. Mostly a bit inspired, but there's a thing on Facebook. There's I think there's several thousand kind of caricaturists on. I think it's Caricature Mania. And they do, there's a couple of different ones, and they do a competition bit where it's obviously quieter time in January. So start January all the way through, they do 31 drawings of famous people. So each day they'll put a name up and you have to draw one. So I must admit, I just didn't get round to doing all of them, but I drew kind of several of the people that I thought I'd kind of like to draw, really, to be honest. So not entered the competition as such, but yeah, I've drawn a few of these pictures, and I've just put got them recently on my website. Actually, I've updated that. I think there's one of Dwayne Johnson, The Rock.
Yeah, I saw that. It's brilliant.
There's
Absolutely brilliant.
Leonardo DiCaprio
With his boat in the picture. The Titanic.
Yeah, he's got that kind of sinking feeling. I think I've put the picture on one of the bits that I put it up on my social media as well.
Posh and Beckham. So, you've got the Beckhams up there, haven't you, as well? Yeah,
there's the Beckhams. That was a chalk picture actually, and I did that quite early on when I started doing it, probably about 25 odd years ago. That was quite a big chalk picture I did. There's one, if you scroll down on my kind of first page of the website, right at the bottom on the left, there is a picture of Madonna. And I kind of jokingly say to people at weddings, I'll draw Madonna, and she never rung me afterwards.
Yeah, I've seen that. Yeah.
My wife's delight. But that was a commission I did, and they put me in a book about Madonna called
Brilliant.
Madonna in Art.
Wow, so you're published.
Fantastic. Yeah, that was my published picture. Again, that was one that was done in chalk many moons ago. Brilliant. So, that's quite pleased with that picture, though.
Is this something you do? So do you teach people how to do what you do?
Sorry.
Is this something you've passed on to people and taught them how to do what you do? Or could you teach someone how to do this?
Yeah, I guess I could. I must admit, I kind of did get asked once upon a time to do a kind of a teaching thing. You can do obviously corporate events and various art classes and bits and pieces, but yeah, it did fall through, so I didn't actually end up doing that. But my daughter is probably my main prodigy at the moment.
Okay.
That I'm teaching. She's only 9 years old, and she loves art. She draws more than me, to be honest. She'll always have a pencil and some paper in her hand. And but she's also, especially during COVID, gave her something to do. She started sort of copying me and gave her one of my old tablets, and she happily sat kind of learning and doing digital drawing.
So we'll be seeing her at weddings soon then.
Yeah, she could be a competition in the future for me.
Fantastic. So just going back to weddings then. So do you ever do any wedding fairs, or have you ever done a wedding fair before to show off what you do?
Yeah, I do quite a lot of wedding fairs. I've just recently done Dunstan Hall one, which got me about 3 bookings out of, and one on the day.
Brilliant.
And I will be doing very shortly the Norwich Showground show.
Oh, the big one, the 2-day one.
Show, very big one, yeah. I did it last year, and to be honest, I got 7 bookings quite kind of near on out of it, and did very well out of it. When I'm at a wedding show, I tend to, the good thing about what I do, I can, show off to people. I'll kind of ask people, actually, do you want an example? So I'll try and attract people to get them to sit down, and I'll do them a caricature on the day at the wedding show. And obviously that piece of paper has also got my details on the bottom and a QR code, so they've got my details, if they want to book me, which goes down quite well.
Lovely. And so you've got the wedding fair at the Norfolk show coming up. Have you got any other ones booked for now, or is that the only one you've kind of got coming up?
I tend to be a little bit last minute sometimes on booking, but they're the main ones at the moment. I'll tend to possibly after that do them a bit further out, so they're not too sort of close to each other, I guess. But yeah, I obviously will do a few more as time goes on. I sort of tend to see them come up on social media and think, actually, I'll see if I'm available. Obviously, it depends as well if I've got bookings, so that's another reason I tend to be a little bit last minute with it in case I've got a booking. Yeah.
So, if I was to book you then for a wedding, just say I'm getting married, what's the process? So, do you do a deposit? I mean, how does it normally work? Do you inquire online, or what's the best way to get in touch?
Yeah, I'm on several sort of platforms nowadays, on Instagram, Facebook. Also, there's a contact form from my website, which you just fill in and send to me. I'm on some other platforms at the moment as well, and the main one I kind of get a lot out of at the moment is hitch.co.uk, which is a wedding site.
Yep.
And that is working quite well for me. And I've just done a kind of paid advert with them, really. So that's quite a good one to send from, and that's got all the website and all the details on.
Nice. That's really good.
Yeah, I mean, I get a lot of stuff through web work, really, and social media. To be honest, people, I do put adverts on most of the wedding sites, Norfolk based. So, you know, I boast that I'm kind of the Norfolk caricaturist, as it were. There are others that travel from further afield to come into the area, but I'm kind of the main one, as it were, in Norfolk.
Amazing, that's really good. So, so do you take a deposit then, or is it?
Yeah, how it works is people kind of, to make the booking, I don't take deposit as such, to call it a booking fee, and that is non-refundable. So what I do now is I take £50 booking fee, and then that's obviously part of the money, and the rest is then payable up to 2 weeks before the actual wedding or event.
Brilliant, yeah.
So it's as I joke about with some of the would-be grooms, as they're grooms to be at the wedding shows, I say, well, it gives you a bit of time to do some overtime and save up for the rest of it. So
absolutely. Yeah. And people like yourself, and I mean, last season when I had Ed on, I don't know if you know Ed, he's a magician.
I'm doing very well.
He made a comment. He said, at weddings, people like himself as a magician, people like yourself as a caricature artist, people remember that rather than what colour your chair covers are. And I think that's a very, very interesting point he made there, because when you're thinking because you make such an impact at someone's wedding, like you do with your drawings, people can go, that was, you know, I want that guy because he did that. They're not thinking, oh, I like the green chair covers. And there's nothing wrong with chair covers, but what I'm saying is it's people like you that stick in people's memories more than sometimes decorations. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I mean, it really does. I mean, the same, you know, I know Ed quite well, and fabulous magician. And like I say, we tend to kind of go along together, really, in some ways. People either have magic or a caricaturist. Because you can table hop, it's non-intrusive, you can walk around, and the same for me, I can draw a picture from a bit of a distance. But yeah, it's a memory, and to be honest, I used to do a corporate gig over at Nottingham a while ago, and I did that for quite a few years running, and there was a lady who'd she's come up and she's, I've got every one of your pictures. Every year I've come to the Christmas do at the hotel, and you've drawn me, and I compare them all each year, and it's like,
that's amazing. That's lovely. Yeah,
it goes down well.
That's a really nice thing. So, 2 random questions for you now. Just 2 random ones. Just ones that I've kind of thought of. They're kind of silly, so you might want to shoot them down. First one is, how much paper do you get through at a wedding or an event? And the second question is, do you ever get cramp in your hand doing all these drawings?
Right. Number one with the paper. I generally, I mean, it's within 3 hours, if that's the amount of time that's booked, which, like I say, generally that kind of works quite well. It's usually between sort of 26 and 30 pieces of paper, so I get quite high quality paper, which the price has gone up quite a bit nowadays with inflation.
Absolutely, everything
I get kind of about 160 grand paper, which is nice, fine art paper, nice quality A3 paper, so kind of get that in. So yeah, that's generally the amount. You know, what I do is the other good thing I can do an ad, which is a kind of slight additional fee for, is I can print the actual paper for them as well. So let's say they want their, you know, the date and their names or whatever at the bottom of the paper, or anything they want, I can print that at the bottom of the paper, allowing myself to draw on the rest of it. Yeah, going to the other question, luckily one of the other things I do is I do therapies as well, sort of during the week as such, because the weddings tend to be mostly weekends, so I tend to do quite a bit of treatment, really, back and shoulders. The main thing that there does tend to be, and also if you've got a bit of a drive to the job as well, is your eyes will be a bit sore usually kind of that night or the next day. And it doesn't tend to be sort of hand cramp. You kind of do it quite slickly, I suppose, really. But, if I'm standing doing caricatures on a mix and mingle, then, sometimes I get a bit of backache or a bit of shoulder ache. But one thing I have just made for myself, I've got various sort of easels and different stuff you can use, or stand or sit. But I've just made a thing, kind of extendable tripod bit with a easel bit at the top, so I can use that standing or I can use that seated and adjust the levels of it. So I can kind of, I've not got to hold the board full of paper, which obviously if it's 30 pieces of paper can be quite weighty, really.
Absolutely. And I guess you take a lot of pens with you as well.
Yeah, I get through lots of different markers. At various points they kind of stop doing various ones, or you have struggle getting them for whatever reason. So yeah, I kind of get through quite a few, really. There's some of them that don't last so well at jobs, and some that aren't, might be a bit dearer, but they'll last a bit longer, or vice versa. So I get through a lot of marker pens.
Yeah, I can imagine you do. Right, so what I'm going to do now, Phil, is I'm going to bring Leo in. Leo's my son. Yep. He has got a question that he's prepared for you, and he's busting to ask you, so I'm going to bring him in now, and we will go from there.
Yep, thanks, Leo.
Hi, Phil. I hope you're well. Just wondering if you've ever met a famous person at a wedding or an event and drawn for them, and because I'm quite interested.
That's a very good question, and thank you for that question. That's a great one. Like I say, I've drawn Madonna before, but that was via pictures. I've drawn at a corporate do for the Queen of Brunei, which was a great one to do, and I drew a couple of the princesses, and she was quite pleased, and I got a nice thank you envelope, which was lovely of her, and quite a famous lady, and great pleasure drawing her.
That's brilliant, and it's always nice as well. Like when you get someone like that, I should imagine in the room, and you get the opportunity to do something like that, because it must feel just you must get a buzz off that. You must do.
Yeah, she had all her entourage with her, and to be honest, there was a mix and mingle magician there as well. I think the job was over at Leicester direction, and the agent had said to me at the time, I do work for a lot of agencies as well as working for myself. And he sort of said to me that it's a really nice job, and I kind of thought, well, it's a bit strange, they never usually give you much information on what the job is. And when I kind of turned up, we were then told, we've got to pull you aside for a little while to brief you on the etiquette with Her Majesty, and it's like, oh
wow,
you mustn't you mustn't do this, you mustn't do that. So yeah, it was quite daunting, but it was a great job to do.
That sounds amazing, and that's the thing, when you turn up at an event like that, or a wedding or anything, and then there's someone kind of in the room, and then you don't know till you get there. It's exciting. It does get exciting, because I've had it a few times where at venues, and they go, oh my goodness, so and so's here, and it's so good. So Phil, before I let you go, I just want to say thank you. It's been an absolutely huge pleasure to talk to you and understand a little bit about more what you do, and hopefully couples who are interested in booking with you, they can get in touch. Where would they find you? I think what was your website address? Do you have a website address?
Yeah, I certainly do. It's www. and it's Coley's, which is COLEYS, caricatures, so it's all one word, CARICATURES.com.
Fantastic.
The other way is obviously on the social media. If you just typed it in on something, it's at Coley's Caricatures. So COLEYSCARICATURES.
Brilliant. And just to give people listening an idea, about costs. Is it I mean, are you very expensive? How much do you charge for like the 3 hours normally, or does it vary?
I'm quite cheap, I think, in comparison to some of the other caricaturists. Like I say, quite a few of them do come a distance in,
Yep.
and there are quite a few that charge an extra £50 to £100 on top of what I do, mostly because I try to keep it local. Like I say, a small charge if someone's outside the 1 hour. But it tends to be what I quote out on most people. If it's within an hour drive, it's £350. Additionally, printed paper is an extra £30 on top if they want printed paper, and also colour markers, which tend to take more like 10 minutes per picture or per person. That's an additional £30. So obviously those things are booked in advance. But so I try and keep the cost down for people. So and also a good thing to look out for anyone who's interested is I've got some vouchers which I've made up that look very roughly like a £20 note, but not too much.
Oh, lovely!
And I kind of say to people at the show, at the wedding shows, I'll tend to give them out and say, look, it's a £20 discount, especially if you book now. But to be honest, there's a little voucher code on there, and they can quote that, and quite often I kind of take discount off.
Fantastic. Well, if you get a chance, guys, to go and see Phil, he's going to be at the 2-day wedding fair. Do you have a date for that one as well, so they can come down and see you, Phil?
I think it's the 24th, 25th at, say, Norwich Showground.
Yeah.
That's a Saturday.
What month is that? Is that in February?
Sorry, February.
In February. Okay, so later on this month, go down and see Phil, and he can show you a little bit about more what he does. And obviously, get in touch with him. You've got his website. He's on, as I said, he's on all the platforms. So just search Coley's Characters, and you will find him. Phil, it's been an absolute pleasure and a joy to chat with you today, and I really appreciate you coming on.
Yep,
and
really appreciate it.
Have a fantastic wedding. Have a fantastic wedding season.
Thank you very much. It's certainly getting busier.
Brilliant.
Much busier.
Absolutely.
So much appreciated.
Well, that has been a brilliant show. Once again, thank you to Phil for coming on. It's always brilliant to hear about the different suppliers that come on the show and about what they bring to your wedding day. So obviously, if you're looking for a brilliant caricature artist, make sure you get in touch with Phil today. Anyway, guys, that is it for this week. Thank you again to Leo for coming on and asking his question. You never know what you're going to get with Leo, so it's always a treat to have him come on and ask. Don't forget, next week, tune in. As I said at the beginning of the show, we'll be talking to Chloe Edwards, the wedding and events manager at Applewood Hall, and she's going to be telling you all about what goes into a wedding reception and also a wedding at Applewood Hall. So, without further ado, guys, I will catch you next week, and I'll catch you all on the flip.